Welcome to partialarc.com. Don't do that.
Do you want to hear a story?
I'm not letting go.
Are you ready for this?
Follow your heart.
I'm going in.
This is
Blockbuster Punch-Up. Welcome to Blockbuster Punch-Up. This is episode 26. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and, well, I'm usually joined by my co-host. Sometimes I'm joined by an interdimensional being named Mike Christensen, but he's not here either. It's just me alone in the airship. Todd's been gone for, God, almost a month now. I just don't know when he's going to be back.
Opening doors.
Jay!
Todd! Todd, you're here!
Jay. It's taken me a while to get back to you,
Oh my God!
but I have a message.
You have a message?
Yes,
I thought you were dead!
I was, technically,
Really?
but then I wasn't at the same time.
Like the Cucumber Men?
It was, well, no, not, it was sort of more like a Schrodinger's cat double slit experiment sort of situation.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We talked about that.
Yeah.
So what happened? What did you see?
Well, I was in the wasteland.
Well, I'm sorry about how that went down. I mean, I just saw the crocodiles with the wings, and
It's
I
fine.
started running.
Listen, it's fine.
Okay.
You gotta lose weight from the ship every once in a while.
Yeah.
If
So
it
sorry
wasn't
about
me,
that.
it would have been you, you know?
Yeah, I know. You would have
No.
just left me there?
Anyway, the
Oh.
more important thing is, when I was on this journey, I found a quantum gate and saw into another dimension, and I know how to get us there, and we should go there, because while I was on this journey, I also had a quest and a vision. I was on a quest.
A vision quest?
And I saw a vision.
So you're on a quest and you had a vision.
I had a...
I can pull the slidey chart out if
It's
you want.
okay. No,
No, we don't need it? Okay.
Well, we could if we...
Oh, okay. Well, we'll just... Here we go. All right, now circle it right there.
Yeah, it was a...
Well, if that's a vision, then this is more of like a crusade, though.
Like I was going on a...
Okay. So if we add those two up and you get the remainder... So you were on a vision quest.
I saw something.
Oh my God.
It was a different show, Jay.
So when we weren't in an airship...
We were not in an airship.
Was it you and I? Was the weird interdimensional being Mike Christensen there?
He was there. And you know who else was there?
Who?
Our friends that I
friends.
just remembered that we had.
God, we used to have other friends before we ended up here.
Exactly. And
How long do you think it'll take us?
about a month-long journey, you know, a fortnight. Or two of those.
Two fortnights?
The one moon, just one.
Just singular moon journey.
And I know where to steer this airship in order to get it.
Thank God, because I do not know how to steer this thing. It's been going in circles.
Yeah, where are we actually?
Yeah, I hit a few buildings.
But the show, Jay, it's the Smash-Up.
The Smash-Up? My God, we can do it in a month, but
And we will.
are we still going to talk about... I mean, I still watch these movies, though. I mean, are we
Oh,
still gonna talk about
no,
this
Fantastic
one?
Four was terrible.
We got to talk about it. Guys, before we get into our punch-up of Fantastic Four, Todd will give us a film recap. Todd, please give us that fantastic recap of yours.
Oh, I see what you did.
Ah,
I liked it.
You're welcome.
Well, the plot centers around Reed Richards, a grade school whiz kid with dreams of becoming the first person to ever teleport himself, who creates a teleporter in the 5th grade with his new best friend Ben Grimm, only to improve upon it for a high school science fair, catching the attention of Professor Franklin Storm of the Baxter Foundation. Reed receives a full scholarship to the Baxter Foundation, moves in and gets to work on a large...
Is it like a school?
Yeah, it's like a school.
Do they? Because he was
like an
taking out
internment.
books at one point, and then like he never went back to that part
The
of the
school
room.
is a lab.
School's
It's
just
like-
a giant lab.
It's like when you go to school and you have labs for classes.
It's just that all day,
The
though.
whole thing is a lab. Well, anyway, they get to work on a large-scale version of his high school science project with the help of Professor Storm's brainiac adopted daughter, Sue Storm, and his troubled biological son, Johnny Storm, and a former protege and ex-Baxter genius, Victor Von Doom.
I just loved that they just went all the way for it. They wrote Victor Von Doom, and then it said, I think, from Latveria on the bottom right-hand corner. They went all out.
Together, they complete the Quantum Gate, a window to another dimension they call Planet Zero. But soon NASA and some other shadowy government folk come breathing down their necks, wishing to take the project away from the 4 scientists. But through drinking away their sorrows in the lab,
Yep.
Victor, Johnny, and Reed decide to enter the gate themselves. Sue learns what the boys are up to, but only too late. What begins as a successful trip to Planet Zero turns afoul as the four are exposed to strange energy substance from the mysterious planet. And,
which was very unfortunate because, I mean, they stayed right near the capsule. It's not like they just went and explored
they were
a
very
strange
responsible.
alien planet
Yeah.
and, like, stuck their faces directly above, like, green lava pools like a bunch of idiots.
Well, they're good scientists, you know. Victor Von Doom, unfortunately, is enveloped in this the energy and lost entirely. In an about face for what was up to then a thoroughly interesting scientific endeavor into alternate dimensions, turns into a goofy standard superhero action film with bendy arms, rock monsters, and flying force fields. But Victor Von Doom is retrieved from Planet Zero alive and with devastating powers. He returns to Planet Zero with the quantum gate. The four re-team to stop him, save the day, threatens the government into giving them their own research facility.
Yep, just straight up threatened them. And the
Just
government was like, yeah.
Or just having a little chat on what they should call their dumb new team name when the movie ends. And not a moment too soon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Fantastic Four.
Wasn't it fantastic?
Let's get into it. Let's kick off the punch-up.
Punch up.
Oh, God.
Well, Jay, I'm sorry, but that's for throwing me off of the balloon ship here and marooning me in the wasteland.
Whoa, look, okay. You say throw off. I, like, very enthusiastically
Listen, I
pushed you.
totally understand why you did it. The question becomes who is to blame with the Fantastic Four situation. I think that's like, you know, we've all read.
Probably Doom. I mean, he's really the evil one that we should all fear. He's out there. in
Or
Planet
Hydra.
Zero.
Or Hydra, again.
You know. But anyways,
absolutely.
before we start talking about the wonderful things that we just felt were a little off about Fantastic Four, we're going to talk about the pros about the film.
Yeah.
So, Todd, what are some of the things you enjoyed about Fantastic Four?
Because that's the thing. I actually really liked the movie for the first half of the film.
You really enjoyed the first half of the film.
Because it's about scientists trying to crack a quantum code.
It's kind of like it's like the Imitation Game, but like it's teleportation. It's
with
like
quantum
any,
physics.
you know, it's like Beautiful Mind. It's like a bunch of scientists working together, a lot of pressure, and will they do it? Oh, look, they did it.
Yeah, and that to me is actually really interesting. You know, maybe I'd like to get to know who the people are a little bit better and all that kind of stuff, but that's a big pro for me is just science.
Right. Science is great.
And a superhero movie, just kind of diving into the science of something. Yeah. That's really interesting.
For me, mine's a little bit weird, a little bit off from that.
Okay.
One of the things I enjoyed about the film was the stretchy fight. When the stretchy guy got to fight the military guys for the first time.
And he like bent.
And he like bent and like did like
dodged
some
the bullet.
weird like boomerangy slappy thing with his hand. Even though like sure, the stretchy powers are by far the goofiest powers in the movie.
They always are.
And that's why in every poster you never see everybody else is in their like power form except for Mr. Fantastic because that is just ridiculous.
Right.
But like that scene I was actually like, oh, this like the fighting is kind of like interesting. Now that scene was only about 10 seconds long.
Right.
They ended it so abruptly I was confused.
Right.
But the stretchy thing was I enjoyed some of it. There were some of the things with his powers that was a little bit more interesting than I thought it was going to be.
And some of the other powers were kind of cool too. I thought Sue Storm's that she has
the force fields.
She can hold her breath. Like she can do it if she holds her breath or something.
Yeah, like they
wasn't
were
really explained, but
right. But they were trying to get a little bit more behind like how she does her powers, which is interesting.
Really
which
cool.
kind of goes into like what you were saying, like trying to peel back a little bit of the science of it. And I also think with the Human Torch, if I understood it correctly, I think he's always on fire, and that suit makes him not on fire.
It basically makes him a giant Bunsen burner that he can turn on and off.
Yeah, he can turn it on and
there's
off.
some like switch that he
like a nozzle
flips.
on him.
Yeah, and that's interesting.
Which is cool, but also plays a little bit more with that idea that these are like kind of like a little bit more like monsters. Like he can't control when he turns on fire.
Right.
Without that suit, he is just always on fire.
Right.
So like I think that's very interesting that like he has to have that suit to like, you know, gauge it essentially, which is interesting.
And when Jamie Bell turns into the Thing, he is just I like this moment where he's just a pile of rocks.
Yeah, that was cool.
And he's like screaming or basically calling out for Reed inside the pile of rocks. And Reed thinks he's literally
he's under it.
He's under the pile of rocks. And then he finds out that he is the pile of rocks, which to be 100% fair would be the most terrifying. I think this is the most realistically terrifying version of the Thing that you're ever going to get.
Right.
The Corman version of 94, the two, you know, the one that happened a few years ago, ago, 2007 or whenever it came out.
With like the foam, basically.
Yeah, it just looked it chickless, you know. It always looks dumb and it looks goofy and it looks cartoonish and straight out of a 90s cartoon. And this I thought was pretty cool sounding. Like when he spoke and moved, you could hear stones grinding together.
Yeah.
And that's kind of cool, you know. I like it when stones grind.
I love it when stones. I love it when stones grind.
Is that a Prince reference?
That is a Prince reference.
I respected that a lot.
Thank you. But yeah, so I think that ends our pros.
I think so.
That'll actually take us into our cons of the film, which there are a lot of. So like always, we try to keep them to a pretty tight bunch of 3. So our first con, probably the biggest con, is consistency.
Oh boy.
Because this film, holy crap, the consistency was like
night and day,
all over the place.
Honestly, night and day. Like,
because the reason why Todd said he likes the first half of the film is because the first half of the film is nothing like the last half of the film.
Right. It's like this really weird kind of thing. So like, there's 2 films here.
Yeah.
The first half is like contact, you know, so it's like this scientific endeavor and there's intrigue and interest, and then the second half is like this really weird, like bad movie from like the early 2000s where
when they hadn't figured out superheroes yet.
Right, they hadn't figured out superheroes. You know, they didn't have the budget for good CG, and it's like Anaconda. It looks like Anaconda.
Yeah, the CGI was oh boy,
it's just like really bad.
And also like I think when we left the theater, I mentioned this, but the first half of the film felt like it was like an autobiographical film.
Yeah,
you did
say that.
I mentioned earlier, like this film was like Imitation Game or like Beautiful Mind because those films are like, you know, they're biographical films about the lives of these young scientists. Kind of like this film was like if we were living, I mean, we are in the post-apocalyptic future now, but you listening to this, if it was like, you know, 2060 and like you're thinking back and being like, back in 2015, a group of scientists secretly met and created teleportation for the first time. Here's the true story. And like that's what and they were called the Fantastic Four, who pioneered teleportation.
It's a biopic about the media titled Fantastic Four, these 4 young people. You know, it's like imagine the Manhattan Project.
Yeah, it was like a little window into the lives of those scientists.
Right, and that's really interesting.
Which is what this felt like at the forefront. And then like, boy, when they got their powers, it just like, holy crap, this film like went somewhere else.
And it just
you're like, a reminder, you're like, oh right, this movie's about a rock monster and a guy who stretches and
for a second, it was this serious and horrific kind of thing for a second. And then it just delved into this whole like pretty much stock superhero thing that looked really dumb and goofy. And part of the problem, I think, is you have this concept called the Fantastic Four, and the way they did it in the first half is so serious. But eventually, unless you change the concept,
you have to eventually
you're gonna
show
get to bendy people, rock monsters, being carried
woman.
by an invisible force field.
And you put a guy in there called Victor Von Doom who's going to be doomed by the end of it. Like, you're going to have to do that stuff.
It's like you have to change one or the other. You either have to change the first half to not be so serious so that it matches the second half of goofiness, or you need to make the second half a lot more serious, like I think Josh Trank originally intended, and have it play a little bit more smoothly.
Right.
But having them be both, you cannot have your cake and eat it too, Fox. No.
And I think that kind of takes us into our next biggest issue with this film, which is the conflict.
Yes.
So the conflict was a big problem. The fact that there wasn't really no conflict, because like we said, this film played like a biography film for most of the film in the beginning, and you don't really have a conflict then, because in those films you're just kind of watching their lives unfold, and like shitty things happen to them, they succeed in some things, like you're just enjoying like, wow, that's what Elvis's life was really like, that's very interesting and enlightening.
Right.
And you have some conflict with family and like jobs and relationships in those kind of films, but there's not like one continuous conflict.
It's almost like the conflict of this movie is interdimensional travel does not exist yet.
And that's it.
Like, we have to do it.
But like, they did it already. The kid did it in the first 2 minutes of the film with a toy car. So we knew it was going to happen.
Yeah,
we also knew it was going to happen because it's Fantastic Four. So for about an hour of this film, the conflict is like, and it's not like they're losing funding. It's not like the government's going to take it away from them. Anything, the government's been like really nice.
A little bit.
More money.
There's very loose conflicts. That's the problem, is that there's no conflict that's directly affecting the project, the characters, or even the involved with the project.
The kids don't ever feel the stress of the conflict. Like maybe Dr. Storm does, but the kids never do. And for example, like Victor Von Doom and Reed Richards, their rivalry in the comics and the pathos of those characters is it's a very big deal. It's supposed to be like they have this huge rivalry.
And is it over Sue?
Well, it's
or is
usually
it more
over.
than that?
It's
I would
usually
like
over science.
it to be more than that.
It's usually over like who's the smarter.
It's over their other wife.
Their other wife science. But yeah, it's more over who is the smartest and who is the cleverest.
Got it.
And they hint at it in this film, but it's more of like Von Doom being like, I don't like you, you're smart, but
Bro,
that's it.
Don't talk to Sue. She's my gal.
There's nothing.
There's all these soft conflicts. Like one of my problems with the first half of the movie, even though like I was watching it and I was kind of like, okay, like I like this. Okay, they're building this thing, but the reasoning behind building the quantum gate is that like they want to solve like global warming
or like save humanity.
And he keeps saying like
energy.
He keeps coming to this board of like, you know, big wig, like old white guys and being like, and throwing like global warming at them. And it works.
Yeah. They're like, yeah.
You know, they're like, oh, well, it's going to have military,
you know, like when he leaves that room, they're like, we're all on the same page, right? Like, we're going to use this for military weapons.
Global warming, we don't really care.
We don't really care. We're going to bomb a lot of stuff.
Doesn't exist, sir. You know, yeah. Like,
doesn't exist. Nothing can prove it.
Snowflakes.
Well, that's the thing is, like, I would have found it to be a lot more interesting if they were doing this teleportation stuff for the effort of fucking science, of like being the first people to teleport or something. Like, be more excited. They also didn't seem that excited. That was the other thing. Like, they were just not excited about creating teleportation. Like, Sue Storm in every scene, she was just like, yeah, I just listen to this music. Life is just a series of patterns and music.
The music was
and
really
like,
bad.
And that's like, that's
what do you listen
all
to?
she gives a shit about.
Portishead? I was like,
yeah,
what is this, Garden State?
Yeah, I know.
Like, what's going on here?
And like,
listen to this, it'll change your life and you know, make you crack interdimensional travel.
You know, Reed Richards, if you come in here, sometimes I like to do something that no one's ever done before. It makes me feel unique and different. Here I'm just going, you try it. You know, they do like a Garden State scene in the middle of Fantastic Four. And that kind of takes us into our third thing we had a problem with, which was, it does. Well, with the characters.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
One of the other big things about this movie that we had a problem with was the relationships. The character relationships in these films. My issue with Sue Storm and Reed Richards is like there's just no connection there. They're supposed to have this kind of flirtatious, almost romantic relationship.
They are?
Yeah, I know. You're surprised. And they do
I
in the
remember
comics.
That from the
and you don't have to pay
one.
homage to the comics. I understand you don't have to put them in a relationship. Problem is, in this movie, they like were doing it. They were flirting with the idea of them having this relationship. They also showed very much that Victor Von Doom was getting jealous.
Yes.
But what was he getting jealous of? There wasn't anything there.
Right, because they never showed that he used to. And then if that was them trying to show that, that's fine. But then please more, because
a little bit more of the jealousy drama, a little bit more of the relationship
a little
drama.
more scenes between Victor and Sue where they have a past. You know, I mean, it's there, but it's like a throwaway line here and there.
Oh yeah.
And just like the conflicts that are a little bit weak and that don't have too much substance and are, you know, just sort of loose conflicts.
Yeah.
The relationships between each characters are a little bit problematic. I mean, one of the moments that I was like, oh, that's not too strong. Reed Richards and Ben Grimm are supposed to be best friends, right?
Yeah.
They're like best friends to the end, you know, like whatever. And the way that they meet in the 5th grade or wherever they are is that Ben Grimm walks by Reed Richards' desk and cocks his head at a drawing that Reed has done. That's it.
Yeah, that's all.
He just like looks at a drawing and goes,
those look like numbers.
And then later, when he catches Reed sort of trying to steal a battery in the junkyard that his family owns, he just says, like, is this for that thingy that I saw on your desk? And he's like, yeah, I'll show it to you. And then they're best friends. And it's like, but that doesn't, like, where's the moment where, like, you
like we
need,
are the
need
same,
each other,
or we need each other,
yeah,
like you
like,
complete me in a friendship some kind of way.
Like in the beginning, I thought they were, you know, they painted this great portrait of this dorky kid who nobody believes in. And then there's this like other kid who believes in him, but you can't just say that. You got to do that. You have to show that.
You got to show why, and also like why is Ben Grimm like all
and
like
why is Ben
with
Grimm
this kid?
And also why is Ben Grimm important at all to the story about scientists?
Yeah, if we're talking about Sue Storm and Reed Richards' relationship, the Ben Grimm and Reed Richards' relationship is like even weaker.
Because I like the concept of like they're best friends.
Me too. Is Ben Grimm secretly like when they meet as a kid? It's like, well, why are you interested in teleportation stuff? It's like he shows him like pictures of like Star Trek. It's like, this is actually my favorite show. and like nobody likes it. And like he gets picked on by, because you see his family is like very dysfunctional or whatever. Like maybe he's picked on by his older brother or his mom or his siblings or whatever, but he likes this science stuff. He doesn't understand it all, but he really likes it, and nobody else likes it.
That's it. That's all you need. Is just a reason for them to be friends.
In the entirety of Ben Grimm and Reed Richards' relationship, of Reed Richards and Sue, of Reed Richards and Dr. Doom,
Reed Richards and Johnny Storm,
or Johnny. Oh my God, we completely forgot Johnny and Sue Storm.
Johnny and Sue,
the brother and sister, who have maybe one scene together, or they say like one thing to each other.
And they're not looking at each other.
They're never looking at each other. Yeah. Like, man, like the whole idea, just to catch anybody up if you don't know about Fantastic Four, when Fantastic Four came out, it was a novel idea because you had a super team for the first time that did not get along. They were a dysfunctional family, but they still loved and cared for one another and had to work together as a team. And at that time, I mean, now we have a bunch of it. I mean, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is one of the most perfect examples of the Fantastic Four. But it is the idea of these four people having to get together with unique powers and unique relationships and unique emotional experiences, but having to work together and loving each other as a family. That creates great dialogue. That creates great emotional drama between the team. That creates great arcs. And none of that is in this film. Those relationships that were created in the comics, even though they were about a guy who turns himself on fire and a rock monster and a stretchy science man and an invisible woman, there's still so much more drama and pathos in there that is completely absent in this film. None of that relationship drama is in there. And when you get to these final acts, when you get to this finale, when you get to them being locked in a chamber and like Ben Grimm being mad at Reed Richards, if you don't have any of that earlier love for each other, when they're finally broken apart and their team is shattered and destroyed, if you don't have that, those scenes, no one gives a crap.
Yeah.
Why does Sue care that Reed's back? That I feel like they didn't have any relationship. Ben's really sad, but we didn't see him at all in the entire film. I think he's more rock than he is man in this film.
I think so, yeah.
There's just no relationships between the characters in this film, and it just leaves it so bland and flat.
And it's sad to hear that in the comic, it was different, because from the movie watcher perspective, I'm always counting myself among the non-like book reader, non-comic reader kind of, you know, moviegoer. Is most of the time when I see a film, I'm watching it for the first time.
Yeah.
You know, it's a shame because for all of us movie watchers, the basic moral of the story is just don't make a Fantastic Four movie.
It's really tough to make a Fantastic Four movie.
But just don't do it.
See, that's the thing. Even like the one in 2007, they embraced more of that. They stuck with one thing for the whole entirety of the movie. Like, that movie isn't great.
It's not awful.
But it's not awful.
Saying that the one from 2004 is better than the one that just came out,
I think it is
really depressing.
Because the thing is, at least that movie was like, look, we're going to space in the first 10 minutes of this movie. Everybody's getting powers, and it's going to be crazy and funny. But the thing is, they embraced it. Like, Chris Evans was this goofy hothead who, like, he was having tons of fun in that movie.
He always has tons of fun.
Even him and Michael Chiklis' relationship in that film, when they're, like, messing with each other, if you remember it, is fun. Because they have this kind of brotherly banter, which is what's supposed to be there. In here, when Johnny Storm calls like Ben Grimm like a rock monster or whatever, like it comes across as
it's like a derogatory term.
It's like, dude, like I have the worst life right now. I am a rock monster.
He literally says like a, you know, or like a thing that nobody wants.
Yeah, like it's like, so terrible.
It's awful.
Like, if you're going to have those fun moments, at least the original film played to those things. They were like, look, it's going to be goofy, and it might be terrible, but we're going to freaking go for it.
Chiklis is a monster.
Chiklis is a monster.
Just hold on, and we'll tell you why.
Oh, man. All right, guys. Well, those were our pros and our cons, and that'll be taking us into the punch-up. So, how do we punch up this film?
Well, there's already a few things that you can try. I mean, you know, punch up the relationships. Start with the relationships.
Yeah.
Okay, so as we said before, it's like Reed Richards is this dorky kid. He has no friends. He spends all of his time in this little laboratory. His parents don't think anything of him. You know, obviously his teachers don't think anything of him. The place that he goes to school in is just a terrible, awful place.
Apparently, they just do not reward kids who do really well at science.
Oh, you want to be something?
Oh, you want to be a scientist.
Fuck you.
Fuck you, kid.
And then, there's this other person in his class who's like kind of this kid who, he's a bit of a outcast himself and gets the shit end of the stick and the blame for everything. He's the one that's always punching back and he gets blamed for it.
And I like him being kind of the smaller, wiry guy.
Yeah,
so then
I like
when
their
we
take
have
on
that
it.
when we have that twist a little bit later on when he's bigger and stronger, that's a very fun thing to play with.
Exactly. It's kind of like a Captain America kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like someone's picking on Reed and Grimm steps in and like picks up all these papers drop out of Reed's trapper keepers and folders and stuff, and he's just like, what's all this stuff, and he's just like, it's these schematics, like it's nothing, and then he's like, this looks like a transistor, this looks like a battery or whatever. He knows what all this stuff is because
he works in a junkyard.
His parents, in this junkyard, so he's just like, and he's like, you know what that is? He's like, sure, we've got tons of them back at home. He's like, you have that, and he's like, sure. And so then, you have this like little like relationship that starts. So like that's easy. Just right there.
Just
you start off the bat with like a little bit of a friendship, a relationship.
And I think you keep Grimm like throughout the film. Like I think you should like if you keep the same plot of the film, like the same flow of the film.
Yeah.
I think you got to have a moment where like, you put some actual conflict in this film. You have like maybe they pull the funding, they lose the funding on the project, and Reed and the kids have to do it themselves. Like they build it all in their own backyard or something like that.
Great. Yeah.
And like you have a moment where like he's like, he's kicked out of the Baxter building. He's like lost everything, and he goes back to Ben, and like Ben's like, you can have one of those like Field of Dreams scenes where like Ben's just on like a baseball field by himself hitting balls, and like Richard shows up. He's like, I don't know what to do, man. And Grimm like, gives him some like words of wisdom. I don't know, go to the junkyard, go to wherever. Like
maybe the new lab is the junkyard.
Exactly.
They can work in there free of any problems.
Another way to also build family relationships if you have them working in the junkyard together, because now they're working in close proximity to each other. They're kind of like roughing it.
That's interesting. And it's a way to bring Ben Grimm into the fold that he's imperative to the story now.
Because they come back, they're like, well, we don't have any of the equipment. Where are we going to get this type of metal? Where are we going to get these kind of power things? Like, where can we find all this stuff? It's like, well,
I know a guy.
I did this when I was a kid. And that's also bringing it back. Like, he did it when he was a kid.
Right.
Why not just bring in these bigger minds and figure out a better way to do it in this small backyard? Like, you don't have to be perfect on the science, guys. Teleportation does not exist. Make that shit up.
And then in terms of
also
the
like
rest...
Johnny and Ben, if them working in a junkyard, you could actually have them really build a relationship, because Johnny works on cars, and you can understand that Ben probably works on cars and builds stuff. You can have them build a bond there as well.
And maybe it starts as like,
like a competition.
You're going to
almost.
need this. No. You're going to need this. It's like, no, you're going to need an eighth.
I know what needs to be.
You're going to need an eighth wrench, and it's like, no. Listen, I know what I need here. And then they're just like constantly bickering, but it's like a playful competition back and forth.
And you could have like
thing.
Ben's like, he might not be smarts, but he knows experience. He knows that this wrench, even though theoretically your wrench should work better, just with how this works, like it's going to turn out better. And like they teach each other something, make Ben a little bit more useful to the team.
And all the while like tease Victor, I guess, right? Victor is maybe going on behind the scenes.
What you could do with Victor is Victor swoops in and takes the project away from Dr. Storm, his kids, everybody. Like they get far enough along, and he's like, yes, we figured out the formula. And Victor's like, thanks, Reed, like you really cracked it. And then he cuts them out of the project completely, and it's just Doom and the government working in the Baxter building themselves to finalize the teleportation.
A match made in heaven. Doom, government and Doom.
Government and Doom. And I mean, play whatever themes you want off of that. And like, it also creates that rivalry between Reed and Doom, which does not exist in the film at all.
Right.
And you have like him being this, you bring back Dr. Doom. One of the things he's known for is this being this megalomaniac for wanting power and wanting it all to himself. So make him, he wants to do the project himself. He doesn't need Reed, he doesn't need Sue, he doesn't need Johnny, he doesn't need any of them.
Except he does.
Because
when things
it wouldn't
go
have
wrong, figured it out without them. But
exactly.
But he steals it because he wants the credit for himself.
They have to do it in the junkyard to beat him to the punch because of some reason. Maybe they figure out something's wrong over there, or if you send somebody over there, maybe they're doing it with good intentions. If he goes over there, he might kill everybody in that facility. They don't know. Whatever.
And suddenly it's like Rocky with like Dolph Lundgren and the Russians.
Exactly.
Like
They've got the machines, but they got the junkyard machines. So yeah, I think that's what you do. You just give the characters a little bit more relationship, a lot more relationship in the beginning of the film. You give them a conflict. They lose like you do in any movie. You got a midpoint lose. The kids now have to go back to the junkyard, bring Ben Grimm back into the fold of the film, work together against, Dr. Doom, who's building his own machine, an arms race essentially to go in there and do whatever they need to do. Or maybe, what happens? When they go and leave the facility, maybe that accident is when they get their powers. So while they're building this machine to go to Planet Zero, they have their powers already. So you can kind of like get a little economy with when you're getting your powers, right? Because if you're spending most of the film building this teleportation device, you don't then want to have a whole nother film after it to learn about powers. You want to mix that a little bit more.
That's a really good idea. It's almost like while they're learning how to work together, they're also learning how to use their powers to work together.
Exactly.
And that working together is
we can't get this hot enough, and like Johnny can like power up and use his fire to heat it a little bit more.
And he's like, he's like welding on the spot,
exactly. And that actually gives a little bit of like how they could build something like this in a junkyard. It's like, well, they have like powers.
Right.
Like,
the thing is like lifting giant
metal things. Yeah. And Dr. Doom, because of his powers, could be using them to create like this totally dark, fucked up teleportation thing there, and the government's backing him. The government doesn't know that Doom's going to totally betray them when he gets the chance to.
Right.
But they're backing a different horse. They're like, well, we got those 4 freaks, but who cares about them? Maybe they think they died or whatever it was. But they're like, we're backing this kid. Like, he's totally under our control. Like, he's under our thumb. He's doing whatever we want.
A reason that they got kicked out of the lab could be this accident.
Yeah.
So there's an accident that is caused by Doom, by the way. He like turns on this thing while they're like doing something. He wants to prove that he's
smarter than, like, it's something like a moment of like
or
weakness.
Kill them, or just hurt them in a way that it's just, so he like flips a switch while they're in a vulnerable position, and then something goes wrong. They get exposed to whatever the thing on Planet Zero is. They get kicked out of the program or whatever because he blames it on them or whatever. It's like, look, they
endanger the lives of all these innocent
scientists.
people.
They could have created a force field, blah blah blah. When one of them said that to him in an earlier scene,
right?
Yeah. And so he's just
flipping the own argument they made against him back on them.
Right. He's like just stealing everything from them, kicks them out. They know what he did, but the thing he also realizes and learns is that the thing that happened to them also gave them these strange powers.
And that's a reason for him to go
nobody else knows it but him.
And that's the thing. That's a reason for him to want to go to Planet Zero and for them to have a race against time. He's going to go there to get more power. He's like, I can create whatever I want with these powers. If I get all of this to myself, I can give it to whoever I want. I can own this power. This is my ticket to the big time,
right,
to be my own dictator, which
right,
he eventually becomes in the comics. He's a dictator of a fake land called Latveria.
He can say, I've always wanted, like, I've always hated that, like I work for somebody else
and then
I have
share
to do
this with someone.
I have to share, like, I want my own place. I one day I could have my own country and be my own ruler and like all this stuff.
I mean, look, if you're gonna call the guy Victor Von Doom, you know what? If you can work it in there, set up some prequel to Victor Von Doom owning his own company and being this crazy sorcery science
country
guy.
And being an emperor kind of dictator guy.
Just freaking go for it, guys.
Yeah.
There's a rock monster in this film. Just go for it. And the thing is, then to create some economy for your movie, while they're building this new thing, you have them also dealing with these monstrous powers.
Right.
So that creates even more drama between them, then finally working together. Like, yeah, like that's how that's kind of how you do it. Then you have them racing to get to Planet Zero to stop Doom from getting his hands on, even more power. They know if he taps into whatever there is over there, he could become like a god, basically.
But of course, they're too late, right? Mm-hmm. They get there and they realize, oh my God, he's here. And then suddenly it's just like,
I've been waiting for you.
Or like some weird shit, and
yeah, that was like the Goro voice from Mortal Kombat. That was pretty impressive.
You know what? It's funny. I was going for the
Emperor from Mortal Kombat.
No, I was going for the bad guy in Inspector Gadget.
Oh, that was actually pretty close. Yeah,
I'll get you, Gadget.
Dr. Claw.
Is that his name, Dr. Claw?
Hey, pretty close. Dr. Doom, Dr. Claw.
Hey.
They probably went to the same college. You can't be Dr. Phillips. You got to have a new doctor name. Dr. Claw, Dr. Doom. Perfect.
Evil University. Just everyone there is just doctor, no matter what. Either the final fight happens on Planet Zero, or more interestingly,
take it back to
the world, and it becomes like everyone's like horrified, and basically they save the world, they save the day, they
save the government douchebags who kick them out,
and everyone thinks that they were just these stupid kids, and now
they become superheroes.
And then that ending works, where they get this because the ending of the movie is dumb in like this ending,
oh yeah,
but tack that same ending on, where they basically are given a government research facility because they're genius teenagers, or they're genius, like, you know, kids who basically created this stuff in a junkyard. And what could they do with, like, you know...
Yeah, what could they do with even more money to back them? Also, don't make Ben Grimm go on army things and kill 43 people.
Right.
Because they washed over that real quick, that Ben Grimm killed 43 people. It's in a shot in the film. It's just like a shot of like 43
one
confirmed
shot,
killed.
yeah.
43 confirmed kills. And like, it's just him like staring at the screen. It's like, dude, you killed 43 people in 1 year? And like, we're supposed to come back to like the end of the film being like, yeah, Fantastic Four. And it's like, what about all those people you murdered, Ben? Anyways, science, right, buddies?
Where Stretch Armstrong, telekinesis girl, and a mass murderer can come together.
Come together. A mass murderer used as the tool of the government. Like, he wasn't mind controlled. He just killed 43 people because there was nothing else to do.
Because someone told him to.
Because they said they'd help him change back. A hero in our film. All right, guys. Well, that was our punch-up of Fantastic Four, and that'll take us right into our smash-up. Smash, 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 Welcome to Blockbuster Smash-Up. This is the game where Todd and I will smash two films together that should not touch, ever touch. And they are usually a globally accepted good film and a globally accepted bad film. We've been switching off every other episode. For this episode...
Who did you... the interdimensional being of Mike?
Oh, Mike, yeah. He took your place last episode.
Right.
Yeah.
And what did he do?
He did the globally accepted good film.
Oh!
And I did the globally accepted bad film, so...
Great.
The interdimensional being took your place for that one episode, and now you can do the globally accepted bad film.
Oh, it's like I have two globally accepted bad films
back
in a row.
To back. You got the real treat.
Yeah.
I have the globally accepted good film, which is fun.
It's fun, but it's actually harder.
It's harder
in a way. It's
there's a lot. There's a lot of good films.
Right.
So I guess we're gonna smash these together on the count of three.
I am excited.
1, 2, 3. The Departed.
A Kid in King Arthur's Court.
Oh my God! Yes! Holy crap! I am so excited. Wow. I mean, that is a bad film, but holy crap! Do you guys remember A Kid in King Arthur's Court?
So, A Kid in King Arthur's Court.
Oh man! Please give the recap of this plot, because I just don't even remember it very well.
A Kid in King Arthur's Court is about a kid who goes to King Arthur's Court. It's about a kid, Rookie of the Year, the kid from Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, the kid from Rookie of the Year.
This
was his follow-up, right?
He's playing baseball.
He can't stop playing baseball.
He just can't stop playing baseball.
Is it the same character from Rookie of the Year?
I don't think it's the same character, because in the Rookie of the Year, he obviously goes pro, right?
Right, that's
and
true.
And in this one, he's playing like T-ball.
Well, dude, you know the proest pro is to play in King Arthur's Court, right? Like, you go to the major leagues, and they're like, you're off to Camelot. It's like the Top Gun for baseball players.
Right. So anyway, he's a loser, and he like sucks on the, he's back to being the kid with before the arm funky butt loving kind of thing.
This is the prequel to Rookie of the Year.
So anyway, there is a massive earthquake on the baseball diamond.
Awesome.
Everyone runs away. He runs back to get his like glove or something, and like the earth splits open in the dugout and it swallows him whole. He falls through an interdimensional portal.
It's amazing.
Back to like King Arthur's time. And he's like, the whole movie he's wearing his like baseball uniform, and he basically like teaches King Arthur and his kingdom
and his court
things like rollerblades, and like he like plays, and he has like a Sony Walkman,
so
and he plays,
never
like, rock and
saw
roll for
like
them.
The Butterfly Effect. He never saw a single movie where he was like, this might destroy all of time and my family and everything.
No, the Sound of Thunder was lost on
completely lost
guy,
on him. Yeah,
and so basically
it was like King Arthur, I forget, like was he doing like rad tricks on like a skateboard or like rollerblades at some point?
He's just doing like and then basically like it turns out that Merlin like selected him and brought him back.
Of course he did,
because he needed him for something. And like, to be honest, I don't really remember how the movie ends. It's just the most ridiculously weird. It's supposed to be a Connecticut in King Arthur's Court.
That's amazing. So The Departed is a film. I don't think you actually heard what I said, but I said The Departed, a film that couldn't be more distant from A Kid in King Arthur's Court.
Oh, what do we do?
It's a Martin Scorsese film with Leonardo DiCaprio, Mark Wahlberg, and Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Where Matt Damon and Leonardo DiCaprio are in a cat and mouse game of trying to figure out the other one because one...
And Jack Nicholson.
Because the film is essentially there are the cops and the gangsters. And the gangsters have... One of their gangsters has infiltrated the cops' side to be a rat on their side. But... the cops have infiltrated one of their guys onto the gangster side. So it's rat versus rat, and each of them know there's a rat in the other crew, and they're trying to figure out which one it is. There's a lot of double crossing, a lot of shooting people in the head. So many people get shot in the head in that film.
Lots of people fall
Mark
and die.
Mark Wahlberg is hilarious in the film as well. Jack Nicholson is great. It is an awesome, awesome film. It's straight up like Martin Scorsese's alley. But regardless, it's a great film, and we have to smash The Departed and A Kid in King Arthur's Court. I think...
I've got an angle. Do you have an angle?
I think you have to have like two kids fall back in time to King Arthur's Court.
Oh.
Like two baseball games are going on, but the two rival players are on the mound. Like you've got the kid pitching and you've got like the evil bad kid at bat, and both of them fall back in time into King Arthur's Court.
But they know that they're enemies already.
That's true. But you have to have two. You have to have a kid. You have the kids in King Arthur's Court basically dropping back in time, and they're both trying to train the other one up to be the better baseball team, like Morgan Le Fay versus King Arthur in the ultimate baseball showdown. Let's say, you know what? Back in time, he doesn't know the other kid fell through. The kid falls through in time, and like back in the day, it is commonly known that King Arthur used to get down with baseball. Like that's where baseball originated.
King Arthur loves baseball.
It originated in King Arthur's Court. Like Excalibur was actually a baseball bat.
Baseth ball. It was the
Baseth ball.
The lady in the baseball diamond gave him the Excalibur bat.
And Merlin is like the captain of like the cops. Like he's brought the kid in to be like, look, we feel like there's someone on the court betraying our baseball tricks to Morgan Le Fay. You need to get in to Morgan Le Fay's team and suss out who's the rat giving away our baseball tricks. And like they have a nice
Lancelot.
It's got to be.
It's definitely going to be Lancelot. Yeah, fucking Lancelot trying to steal King Arthur's woman.
Like what an asshole. That guy's such a huge dick. No one ever thinks about that. What a huge dick Lancelot is.
Lancelot, he's got a huge dick. There's a baseball bat.
There's an undercurrent plot about how big Lancelot's dick is in this film. It's a subplot. So Merlin brings the kid in to infiltrate Morgan Le Fay's court to find out who's leaking baseball secrets.
At the same time, comes a newcomer who's like incredible. I mean, this kid is amazing.
He's in full armor. We don't know.
Well, we don't know. Yeah, he's like the Black Knight.
It's the Black Knight.
He's the Black Knight.
We don't know that it's this kid.
Or how about it's the Green Knight?
Okay. I like the Green Knight. That's a good fable.
Well, you know what I'm saying?
Story? Yeah.
Well, if it's Morgan Le Fay, it's the Green Knight.
That's true.
So it's this kid comes in. He's like, this knight comes to the court, and he's crushing it. I mean, just baseball things.
Maybe he's. No, just, he does so much baseball, guys. The baseball this kid does is outrageous.
No, he's just making kingdom runs and
kingdom runs.
Yeah, like home runs.
Kingdom runs.
Yeah, up in the turrets.
Yeah, the turrets.
What are the spires? I
think like a spire. I think like a spire.
Yeah,
he's tower, spire.
Wow, he's just hitting the towers left and right.
Crushing them, crushing those towers.
And basically, like Merlin takes him on, and he's just like, oh, this kid's amazing. Like, this is great. This will be great for our baseball team and King Arthur's baseball team. Little does he know, he's letting in Morgan Le Fay's
bad guy into their team,
and the kid's like arch nemesis. And by the way, you cast the young children versions of Matt Damon and.
And Leonardo DiCaprio.
You
cast Jack
and Mark Wahlberg.
You cast Jack and the kid from...
Holy fucking shit, Jack is King Arthur.
Jack is King Arthur.
Yeah.
Okay. Is young Matt Damon and young Mark Wahlberg the two enemies? Mark Wahlberg's the evil one.
Mark Wahlberg's evil, yeah.
No, and what it does is Morgan Le Fay sends her kid to King Arthur's court, and that kid becomes the Black Knight. The kid goes to Morgan Le Fay's court, and he becomes the Green Knight.
Right.
And it's the Green Knight, Black Knight showdown at the end of it.
Right.
And they figure out who the dirty rat, and then they all shoot each other in the head.
Yeah, with the guns that they have.
King Arthur's court. With the baseballs. There's a lot of baseball into head death.
And at a certain point there's just tons of sword fighting, but it's with baseball
Jack
bats.
Nicholson is who's the son of Morgan Le Fay and Arthur?
Merlin?
No. Jack Nicholson is Merlin. That's awesome. Jack Nicholson as Merlin just sniffing cocaine every time he sees the kid.
You're gonna be great.
You're gonna be great, kid. So we have our film about King Arthur, who originated baseball. What is the name of this film?
Knights in White Satin.
Knights in White Satin. Screw both titles.
Green Knight versus
Green v Black Knight.
Yeah. Right.
Green Knight versus Black Knight.
How about a rat in King Arthur's court, Green Knight versus Black Knight.
So we make it a Batman versus Superman title?
Yeah.
Dawn of Green Knight.
A rat in King Arthur's court.
A rat in King Arthur's court.
Yeah. Oh, no. A rat in King Arthur's baseball diamond.
A rat in King Arthur's baseball diamond, Green Knight versus Black Knight.
Green versus black.
That's amazing.
Green socks versus black socks.
All right, guys. Well, this concludes episode 26 of our punch-up of Fantastic Four. We'll be posting a new episode every other week. If you'd like to download more episodes or check out other similar podcasts, head over to partialarc.com. That's arc with a C. Of course, you can email us any questions at blockbusterpunchup@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at partialarc. And be sure to follow Todd on Twitter and Instagram at TG11. And speaking of, Todd, punch in those coordinates.
You got it, Jay.
All right. Looks like we're steering towards it. It looks like it'll take us, what, about a month to get there?
About a fortnight, a double fortnight.
Double fortnight.
A moon.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the last episode of Blockbuster Punch-Up.
Let's go home.